What happened?
Psych!
Hello everyone, I'm Max, and you read the title. Can you beat Cry of Fear without killing a single enemy? Let me tell you the rules real quick. 1, I am playing on normal mode, not hard, because I learned my lesson from my other pacifist run videos. 2, no, bosses do not count. 3, no unlockables, since certain ones can trivialize the challenge completely. 4, no killing enemies, duh. Infighting is allowed. Lastly, all kinds of bugs and exploits can be used to get by. I also use the settings to add a slight brightness boost for quality of life, since I don't need the added suffering of running around in the dark.
But Max, the game is obviously unbeatable without killing anything. Look at the first enemy encounter in the game. He's gonna body black you.
Yeah? Alright. Out you go now. Out you go now. Alright? Yeah? There. Anyways, let's get right to it. You don't really see any enemies during the first part of this chapter, so let's just skip past all of that and get right to the guy you saw in the beginning. It's pretty annoying to do, but you can definitely lead him to the side and get right past him. The other guy on the waterway was way harder to get past though. His AI is way less exploitable. I was able to get past all enemies though, grabbing all the syringes while using the tried and true
Run like hell
tactic. Or in Cry of Fear's case, the fly like hell tactic. Now is probably a good time to talk about dodge jumping. In Cry of Fear, there's a dodge mechanic which gives you a small boost in any direction to avoid attacks. But if you dodge and jump right after quick enough, you retain that speed and go flying. If you ever played Gold Source games, which I know you do, come on, you know you are able to bunny hop and keep that momentum, which really helps in avoiding enemies. Now that that's out of the way, I soon reached the apartments, which I naturally was a bit worried about since it's very tight corridors. But turns out you can use a lot of exploits in this area of the game. And those exploits start as soon as you enter by interacting with a door through the ceiling on the next floor. That leads right into the room of the guy doing the bloodbath challenge. Basically skipping half of the entire level. That does mean you miss out on getting the Glock, but it's obvious you don't need it for the challenge. I get the key from the dude, but I was not expecting a silly screaming metal stompy woman to come out and start attacking me. Luckily I was able to get the rope and make it down out of there though. And my new goal was to reach a specific TV in another apartment for yet another glitch. But I had to avoid more fasters as I made my way there, thankfully being able to squeeze right past them. Then I made it to the TV. Now normally you gotta go into the basement and get a VHS tape to play a video that gives you a code to activate an elevator, but for some strange reason only speedrunners can understand. If you go right here, wait for the faster to attack, and then crouch jump, she whacks the TV which magically spawns a VHS tape in it, which gives me the code for the elevator early. Don't ask me how it works, it just works. I then put the code in and rode the elevator down where I met the first boss, being the Tsar, very creative name there. Since I didn't get the Glock, I had to fight him with my switchblade, which kinda sucked. Eventually I was able to overcome him though and make it to the next chapter.
Are you stupid or something?
After having a little chit-chat with the doctor, I flew over little creepy crawlies and made it to a locked door. Normally, you'd have to listen to some breathy person tell you the code so you can open the door by calling him. I can't really do that because of all the enemies. But thankfully, you can put the code in early since it's the same every playthrough, so I don't need to listen to some edgy weirdo whisper into my ears. I then made my way through the sewers and punched out some rusty metal bars like a real man. I was barely able to squeeze past the sumos in there, but I managed and I arrived at a little construction site, where I encountered the first big hurdle of the run. You see, past this little drop here is a room full of Michael Myers wannabes, and a locked door with a keypad. Now, RNG plays a big factor here in two ways. One being the enemy spawns, and two being the code on the keypad. There is a chance for an enemy to spawn inside the room with a syringe, which is necessary for me to get since I barely had any health at that point. And the code to the door is randomized. The first 3 letters are always the same, but the last one is random. And when you go up to the keypad, the game does not pause. And the worst part is that this game doesn't have quick saves, so every time I died, I had to go back to the save in the sewers, which has made this process so insufferable. But after about half an hour of attempts, I was able to get lucky enough to get through. But then I immediately ran into an enemy which I thought would ruin the whole run. This crawler right here. You can't really squeeze past him, but thankfully, you can lure him out and jump over him. I then quickly ran out and got the lighter and the shotgun. You may ask why, since I can't kill anything, but actually the shotgun is more useful than you might think. Because of one mechanic with long guns, where if you right-click, you can stun enemies at the cost of a tiny bit of stamina, which ends up being really useful, at least in this kind of challenge. Surprisingly, the crawlers let me squeeze right past them on the way out. I then burned a piece of rope and got the sewer key. Then I reached the mace boss, which is pretty straightforward. Just jump onto the valves and zap his legs to death. Although, the first attempt I kinda messed up and died, but I also killed him at the exact same time, so this happened. I did beat him second try and promptly acquired the saw to get the key out of him. The nightmare sequence posed no extra challenge, and I reached the next chapter. Now in the streets of Sweden, I need to get past this weird looking thing, and I already encounter another hurdle, that being this crawler inside of a vent that I absolutely cannot squeeze past. And thanks to this silly little guy blocking my way, I quickly got stuck and took out my frustrations before dying. On the second attempt, I led the wormy dude away from the vent so I could lure out the crawler and jump right in. Thankfully, another crawler didn't spawn, which would have blocked my way and killed me. It has a chance of doing that, actually. While saving, though, I got jump scared by Michael Myers, but I somehow did not die and I quickly made it out of the vents, running away from all the enemies that jumped me. Walking further past the sumos, I meet the Saw Runner, which didn't change the game at all since I can't kill that dude anyway. Then I did a stupid puzzle in the park and grabbed the rifle, which I actually do need for the boss of this chapter. You can easily crouch under these flying bed guys here and make it to the little park place where you get called up by Sophie, aka the woman that Simon simps for or something. The only problem is that there's one enemy here, and you cannot skip this call, which leads to this.
Hello?
Hold on one second, man. I got it. Take this. Thankfully, I was able to break his AI, though, by hiding behind a corner and then getting the call I was able to pass by. I then had to quickly pick up a shovel and use it to dig up a key, all while a bunch of people chased after me. Thankfully, I was able to do it, though, using evasive maneuvers, and I made it to the apartment's rooftops. Now, I know that this boss is skippable, but I actually have to defeat it because I need to get the good ending, which doesn't force me to kill multiple enemies like other endings do. And to get that good ending, you need to both defeat this boss and give a gun to the doctor in a later chapter, which is why I brought the rifle so I can kill this weird-looking pink motherfucker. Oh yeah, also Sophie died. That's a thing that happened. Sophie?
Yes?
You wanna see something I made for you?
Yeah, sure!
After drowning in sorrow over my one and only dying, I jump past this loser and meet a new certain enemy called the... Let's just say, although these guys are a pretty big threat, if you run up to them and show them your gorgeous face, they just can't handle it and their head just goes... Doing this became very important, especially around this part. Now I need to get a fuse to enter the train station, so I went and did some epic parkour, got into the college, and stole its fuse. Then, after running around dodging faceless dudes and escaping, I made it back and unlocked the train station. I now have to kill this ugly growth, so I ran like hell, opened some doors, died a few times, managed to dodge this drowned right here, and activated the train to kill the ugly growth thingy-majiggy. No, this does not count as killing an enemy. If you do count it, I will... Then finally I got into the subway tunnel section, which I was kinda worried about because of the tight corridors and ventilation areas. I decided to turn off the brightness boost for this section since it felt like it was a little too much, so I had to use flares. Most of it was normal until I reached the area with enemies literally named after an antidepressant. They did the exact opposite of what antidepressants should do, they suck at their job anyway, and made me lose all hope since it was taking me quite a while to dodge past them. Trying to lead them out of the vent somehow didn't work. But thankfully I was able to break their AI enough to make them run slightly into the wall and just squeeze right past them, although I broke my neck while climbing up the ladder. There's only one more issue in this part, and it's this little nice individual that jump scares you. You cannot squeeze past him at all, but thankfully you can lead him out of the vent and crawl right back into the vent, thankfully avoiding any kills. Oh yeah, if you're enjoying the video so far, please consider liking the video and commenting, as it really helps me in the algorithm. These videos take forever to make, so the help would be much appreciated. Also, I have a Patreon if you want to support me. It has special things like behind the scenes content. Okay, back to the video. Now, out of the tunnels, I witness murder and make it down to another locked door which requires 2 fuses. One has to be collected in an apartment, and the other has to be taken out from the other door I used earlier. Hooray! Backtracking! My favorite! I decided to go for the apartments one first, running by a bunch of flying guys, woman guys, Michael Myers guys. Then, at this little bus section right here, there's another random monster spawning issue. Either a few head exploding guys or a few fasters. I kept restarting till I got the former guys because fasters would trap me in the bus. Inside the apartment sewers, I struggled to get past a bunch of sumos that just loved getting in my way, though I did manage to corral them out of my way and made it out of the sewers. Now in front of the apartments, I used some Michaels to magically spawn in a ladder. I think this is the same thing that happened with the TV and the faster, as I'm pretty sure this glitch has something to do with enemies hitting things that need items to be used on them. I don't know. But because I used this glitch, I now have 2 ladders and I can leave whenever I want. Now you can quickly get up a floor by just doing a little... After squeezing by a few more enemies, I reached the roped off apartment which has the fuse I need. But there was one issue. One really big issue. Going down this ladder, you enter a nightmare sequence where you were stuck in this room with the little guy that jump scared you in the beginning, as well as 4 faceless behind gates that soon chase after you. The big problem is that the front gate that lets me out is locked, and will only open once all 4 enemies die. And as far as I know, there is absolutely no other way to get past them. So these 4 enemies must die, which left me completely devastated. So close, yet so far. Why? Why did you have to do this? But, if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I didn't stop there. I vowed I wouldn't kill another single enemy during the rest of this run, and god damn it, I stuck with it. Now, thankfully, I don't have to kill all 4 enemies here. You actually only need to kill 1, as you can make the rest of them smack and kill each other by crouch jumping against this wall. If you somehow know any way to get past this part without killing anybody here, please let me know in the comments. Anyways, I was able to run past these 2 other faceless before escaping the nightmare and getting the first fuse. Then I left and went back into the sewers and saw this. After a few deaths of trying to jump and squeeze past them, I eventually was able to get damage boosted up on top of one of them and then crawled over to the other side, thankfully making it out of there. Now making my way over to the second fuse, which thankfully wasn't as hard as getting the first one, I just had to dodge some giants and run like hell, making sure I don't get knocked into next week. I then break some boards, backtrack through the park and the walkway leading to some weird mail place. After making it back to the subway entrance, I had to somehow avoid all these dudes with only a tiny bit of health. It didn't help that there was also a head popper there too. Thankfully, I was able to get past and snatch the fuse, then make my getaway. After making it back and putting in the 2 fuses, I made my way through the tunnels with tons of head poppers and arrived at yet another locked gate that requires 2 fuses. So I got myself a sledgehammer to break open a brick wall. It's also very important you need to grab the sledgehammer from this angle, as if you go any further, an enemy will spawn and block your way. You don't want that happening. This led me into another nightmare sequence where thankfully all I need to do is just some parkour and a door game, before going through this godforsaken maze part, which is still annoying, pacifist run challenge or not. But I managed to complete the nightmare sequence, went over to collect the 2 fuses, and I put them into the gate, finally leaving the subway. Now riding in the train, I think about my life, all the mistakes I made, the single person I killed, the person I planned to kill. And right, they won't let you get away that easily. You gotta deal with this attack, and you have to deliver a foot that's at the back of the train, although I have a secret trick for this part. You see this window right here? I run into it and jump straight out of the window. Just kidding, you can walk right along the track. I grab the foot after skipping all other sections and get back into the train by interacting with this door. Yes, that's right. That whole chapter is that short, and I escaped the bus after dying like 10 times, I don't know. And I am now in the forest part, which was really not that notable at all, surprisingly. I was too lazy to turn off the brightness boost, so the whole part was pretty bright. Immersion ruined, oh no! A few kinda notable parts in the forest was one of these parts where you have to find 2 pieces of scissors to cut a rope, but you can actually jump and let the enemies cut the rope for you. And then there's this terrifying part with the saw runner, which we're not gonna talk about, alright? We're not gonna talk about. Then I get down to this little nightmare sequence with multiple doors and this weird screecher fellow, which you can thankfully juke around. And now we're at the mental asylum, aka the worst part in the whole entire run. Besides the part where I had to murder someone, I mean, that's kind of obvious. I need to find the doctor, but I gotta activate the power first, which I do. Now, what I need to do is give the doctor a handgun to get the keys to get past this gate. And yes, I must give him the gun, as choosing not to will also give me the ending where I need to kill tons of enemies. So I go into the bowling alley and get the gun, then I dodge this freak who kept trying to kill me and wouldn't leave me alone. Not even in the damn cutscene. Also, during this cutscene, you can actually use an exploit to keep the gun through binding a key to drop the gun from your inventory while giving him the gun, which will allow you to still keep the gun even after giving it to him. Don't ask me how it works, alright? After this, I can get past the gate and get a key that will allow me to find a tablet, to get a number, to call a number, to get myself to show a code to unlock the door leading to the doctor. Very simple, I know. Now here's the horrible part. After doing this and unlocking the door, not only will the enemy still be aware of where I am, but psychos will spawn outside in dark corners of the building too. And the worst part? It's super hard to save here without dying. So every time I died, I had to redo this damn cutscene giving him the gun. After countless deaths and what must have felt like hours trying to avoid the axe-wielding maniacs, I eventually was able to unlock the door and get inside the room, where I gotta stand around and wait until the tablet spawns in on the table. But once I got in, the enemies followed me in and killed me. This happened multiple times, by the way. After reaching the room again, I ducked into a corner of the bathroom and thankfully nobody followed me in. I then was able to run out and get a look at the tablet, which has 3 specific patterns for specific phone numbers. So I just took a quick look at it, searched up the according symbol, and got the phone number without needing to get the other part of the tablet. Then I made a mad dash back to the phone to call up my buddy so I can learn the code for the door upstairs. Now heading upstairs, I met a fine lady that told me nuh-uh, but I said yaha, and I jumped past and saved right next to her and all the other enemies following me up the stairs, which surprisingly didn't softlock me. Sure, I died, but thankfully the save load provided a small buffer for me to put the code in before I die. Too bad I forgot the code and had to keep trying over and over again until I guessed the last letter correctly. Then I reached the doctor and killed him first try like a boss. Felt weird using guns again, but hey, I got to stomp on him, so I'm happy. Finally escaping that hellscape, I got out of the asylum, crossed the lake with a boat, ran away from some crazy people, swam through some sewers. Jeez, this game really likes making you swim through shit. Met the Saw Runner for the last time and said my goodbyes, since I probably will never be seeing him again on this channel. Goodbye, buddy. You won't be missed. And ran through the streets of Kirkville while avoiding all the enemies that tried to stop me. Then I finally reached my home, calling out for my mom with the help of bullets. Then I picked up my book and bam, now I'm in a wheelchair. But then this weirdo pops up and me with my suppressed sadistic personality decide to follow him and kill him, which I thankfully was able to do.
Oh, I'm hurt! Oh, my neck! My back!
It's the police. Open the door.
Huh? What are they doing here? Oh no, they know what I'm doing. I can't let them stop me. I must do something. Yeah, they can't stop me from being a pacifist. Thank you for watching till the end of this video. Sadly, you can't beat the game with no kills. You must kill one single enemy. We were so close, but eventually I think we can beat a game without any kills. If you enjoyed this video, like I said earlier, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Also, special shout out to this guy, Ottovo. I think that's how you pronounce it. My only tier 3 patron. Thank you, buddy, I love ya. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.